Hey, this is Damon from Diorama World, and in today's video, we are going to make a modular abandoned warehouse diorama. Up next. So, we are going to start off with two project panel foam boards that are 24 by 24 inches in diameter. That's 2 by 2 feet. And then I will make a cut right down the middle of both. Okay, now I have four pieces that are 12 by 24 inches, and I'm going to cut only one of those in half. And lastly, we're going to cut a 2-inch strip off of just one of the long pieces. So now we're left with a 12 by 20 2-inch piece. All right, now just to recap what we are working with here, we have a pair of 12 by 12 inch squares, which will be our sides. We have two 12 by 24 inch pieces, which will be the top and bottom, and one 12 by 22 inch piece, which will be the back or front, depending on which side you have the diorama positioned. So let me go ahead and give you an idea about what this is going to look like. So there's our bottom, there's our side pieces. Bring in the back like so, and then here's other. Oops. Get in there. Well, there. And keep in mind, we're going to add magnets to keep it together. So there we go. We have a rectangular box. So before I go any further, I guess I'll make a few cutouts. I plan to add one pedestrian door, one bay door, and one window. Alright fellas, I just got back from Michael's craft store and I picked up these premium acrylic paints, matte finish, and what I think is really interesting are the color schemes. We got this steel gray and coffee bean. How about that? Okay, I think these are my new favorite colors. I cannot wait to see how these turn out. So I plan to use the steel gray on the interior and the coffee bean on the outside of the building. Alright fellas, it is the next day and our paint has had some time to dry overnight, and this is how the gray steel turned out. And I'm very pleased with it. Just looking at it, I mean, yeah, it looks like a concrete warehouse floor to me. And here is the coffee bean brown. And oh yeah, I love these colors. I don't regret at all picking out these paint choices. Alright, before I go any further, I'm going to use just my pencil here to score the bottom board. Alright, here we go. All of my lines are straight, and I'm happy with how it turned out. And keep in mind, this is a 12 by 24 inch piece, so I was able to make 4 by 4 inch squares. All right, guys, look, I am a beginner at weathering. It's just not something that I've really messed with in the few dioramas that I've done on my channel. I have watched a few tutorials on YouTube about weathering and know that I really need to water down the paint being used. In this case, I got some black acrylic paint from Michaels. Alright fellas, this is my first time doing this myself, but I'm going to show you how the pros on YouTube install magnets to the foam board. So first off, you want to make sure you have your magnet exactly where you want it, and then we're going to use our thumbs to push down, and we're trying to make an indentation in the foam board of the magnet. And there we go. That looks good. Then we take our X-Acto knife here, and we're going to just carve out that circle. Now keep in mind the magnet is not very thick, so you don't need to cut down too far. I've already installed a few of these magnets, so by now I kind of got the hang of it. And I'm about to share an important tip with you. So now we can just put the magnet on our blade like so. And then we're going to come from the side and we're going to see about how far down we need to cut. Now, important tip, give yourself less room than you think you need. You don't want to go down too far and have the magnet setting too far inside the foam board, because then it won't connect well with the other board. So I'm gonna start right about there. And keep in mind, if the magnet is still poking out a little bit, you can always push it down a little more with some force. So now let's just cut a little line across. All right, and now it should just pop right out, and there you go. Voila. All right, and here's another very important tip. Always, always, always make sure that your magnets are facing the correct way. So we know that this side goes down into the hole. Nice snug fit there. Well, here is the inside of my warehouse wall after I've added the weathering. Again, this is my first attempt at adding weathering. I try to make the corners look a little more filthy, like around the doors, the windows. And oh, speaking of the window, it was bothering me how small it looked, so I cut that much off. So before it was something like 3x5, now it's more like 4x6. So much better, looks better. Let's see, now I'm going to do a few more things here with the bottom. I want to cut some foundation cracks in one of my squares with my X-Acto knife. So I guess I'll make like a little Y. Here we go. Now come from here, and foundation cracks aren't real straight. They're kind of, zigzag, kind of like lightning. Yeah. So kind of go back and forth here. Let's come from right there. Almost. All right. How's that look? Again, my first attempt at doing that. That looks good. All right. And then we're going to do something else. Usually they use a ball of rolled up aluminum foil, or you can use a rock. Found this outside. We're just going to push down and try and add a little damage to the floor. You know, they're working hard. They're dragging pallets back and forth. They're dropping stuff. You know, things happen. There we go. Okay. Again. All right, not too bad. And one last thing I want to do here. I have my little handy dandy sanding sponge for paint. You can get these at Lowe's. Usually come in a 2-pack. And you know what? I'll be honest, my initial weathering job wasn't great. And this sanding sponge kind of saved me. I went in and I just went over the area and I kind of helped smooth out any imperfections. And it made it look a little more natural. So I'm going to do the same on the bottom board here. I'm just going in circles, you know, wax on, wax off. All right, there we go. All right, let's back up a little here. How's that look? All right, well, next up, I will be working on the doors and windows, but before I go any further, I would like to address these little cuts that I made in order to install the magnets. So to cover that up, I'm going to use some Mod Podge here. It is a glue, a sealer, and a finish. Okay, after sealing up my cuts with Mod Podge, I then use my sanding sponge to try and smooth out the area and then paint it over it. I think it came out pretty well. I mean, if you weren't like this close to it with the light highlighting the area, I don't think you really notice it. And on the sides that are mostly rough, you can hardly even tell the cuts were there. Alright guys, I am trying to keep this video in under 20 minutes in length, so get ready for a montage of the final touches. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to Frank's Furniture Repair Shop. And this is supposed to be an abandoned warehouse As you see, we have the boarded up window and the pedestrian door, which is missing, kicked in. We just have a cloth hung up in its place. And this is just supposed to be a place where some shady shit happens, you know, like Kingpin has the DA tied to a chair and him and his goons are roughing him up and threatening him. And then all of a sudden Daredevil bursts in. Whoosh, pop, pop, shoo, shoo, shoo. And yeah. And early cool function about the little boards, the planks that are magnetized. Let's say you're doing a stop motion and, you know, Kingpin's had it with Daredevil. He's like, you keep Vanessa's name out of your mouth. You can take them and just throw them straight through the front window. Just like so. Here is the cloth door entrance. Let's see here. And yeah, I picked this little plaque here out at the craft store, stained it, added the letters. They're just stickers. And I found this little sticker at the Dollar Tree. This is of a it's a fancy door knocker for a door. And let me show you up top here. I did say this would be a functioning bay door, so I made this cut here. And it was kind of ugly, so I wanted to hide it. So I cut me some more foam board, painted it, and made that little trim there. And then I took some more foam board and just made a square, painted that, and nothing fancy at all. I found this old attachment to some hair clippers and just super glued that on top. Yeah, that's supposed to be the vents. Yes, of course, I could have took my time and did something better, but you know, I was already pressed for time. This was supposed to come out weeks ago. So there it is. Also, toward the end of this build, you know, when I was completing it, I did realize that, you know, I'm sure the majority of the real serious diorama guys on YouTube have probably thrown away their first build. I'm pretty sure they have. So I've already came to grips with, you know, this is my first build. It was a good practice run. And you know what? One day I'm going to rebuild it 10 times better. So let's turn it around and have a look at the inside. And here we go. And oh yeah, let me show you how this works. So you know what? Hold on. All right, the lights are off. I cut off the lights because I wanted to show you the overhead light that I found at the grocery store. And that's what that looks like. The lever is just a slider, so I can adjust how bright and how dim I want the room. And that came with some double-sided adhesive and Velcro strips, so when the batteries die, I can just rip it off and replace them, or just rip it off and use it for my future improved warehouse build. So, oh, yes, let me show you how the bay door works. So, first off, come in. It's very important. Safety first. So, to operate the bay door, you want to first press the green button. Green is up, red is down. So, push green, boop. Then we go up here, and oh, can't see. Let's get the lamp on. All right, so then I would unhook the chain from the AC on top, and I would just bring it up, and then I would retie it around the AC unit, and there you go. Well, I brought it up too high. I don't need it that high, but you know, right about there. And then to bring it down, what do we push? The red button. Boop. So there we go. Like I said, guys, you know, it's my first build. It's not too terrible. I do think that I did some things well here. It's a lot to improve on, and I look forward to building this again in the future. So let's go ahead and decorate this room. Okay. So, you know those situations where you think you have a lot more space than you really do? Well, that's what happened here. So we got a lot going on here. Let me just take the camera off the tripod and get in close and let me show you. Now there's too many things in here. This all came from different places. I'm not going to go over everything, but if you're curious where I got something, just ask me in the comments and I will let you know. So I wanted to have like a pallet of crates of, you know, supplies coming in. I wanted to have like a box of scraps. You know, here's a table that has been destroyed. In the corner over there, I have a little propane tank. Here we have a table, some benches. So yeah, the guys were having lunch, got some drinks, and look at this. This is so cool, this little toolbox. I found this at Michael's craft store, and I'm glad that I did. This is so neat. Look at these little miniatures, little stainless steel hammer. Here's some pliers, and look, they're articulated. Yes, they're on a hinge, they move. That is so cool. And I think it was, gosh, I don't remember, around $5 maybe. And, you know, I got this, the Dollar Tree, just a trash can, maybe put that on the side of a building with the other pallet. And, you know, we got some other things. Maybe he's working on this grandfather's clock. Also picked this up. Yeah, this also came from Michael's. Maybe some elderly woman came in and she's like, hey, can you fix my sewing machine? He's like, yeah, sure, I'll fix it. And then I just went to the Dollar Tree and got some cheap stuff that I can just use as scraps. So, little dresser here, just scraps. Then we have a big old box of scraps. So, there we go. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. Obviously, too much going on in here. I do have a little miniature pallet jack somewhere. That would look cool in there. Let's turn the light on. There we go. There we go. All right, so if you made it to the end of the video, you rock. I appreciate you checking this out, and any feedback is welcome. I'm going to end this video now with a little photo montage with action figures and how they look in my little diorama setup.